Nyla, Chester, Mjolsness.
Can you imagine traveling to every continent but two to hunt? Good afternoon, honorable judges, Mr. Chairperson, worthy opponents, and guests. Chester Mjolsness was born in 1919 in Disbury and grew up on the family farm just west of Sundry. When he was younger, he was a hunter. He was a rancher until 1943. He and his brother Lloyd started Spray Lake sawmills by Cochrane. Chester retired and started hunting for big animals. He traveled to every single continent except for South America and Antarctica. All of his animals are in a museum in Sundry. In the museum, there are over 170 stuffed birds and animals from around the world. He shot quite a few birds like the magpie, female hairy woodpecker, yellow-shafted flicker, western meadowlark, snow goose, snowy owl, red-tailed hawk, pheasants, and a blue heron. From South Africa, he brought home an elephant and some other big animals. If you can imagine the size of an elephant, it's pretty big. They're so big, they had to shrink the ones in the museum. He brought home the actual foot from Africa and made it into a stool that sits in the museum. Also from Africa, Chester Mjolsness hunted a beautiful giraffe. The giraffe is one of the tallest animals in the world. When he went to hunt the giraffe, it was enormous, so huge that when they stuffed it, they had to put a bar in the legs to help it stand up. Another animal he hunted from Africa was a white rhinoceros. The hunting permit just to hunt the rhinoceros was $50,000. Wow, that's a lot of money. Can you believe it cost that much? He also hunted a hippopotamus, mountain zebra, and a jackal, which is like a coyote, and an African lion, and quite a few antelopes, and a lot of hawks. From North America, Chester shot a lot of animals. He shot a big, beautiful cougar, and most of the species of sheep in Canada, and a lot of bears like Kamchatka brown bear, Alaska brown bear, and coastal black bear. He also shot a polar bear, Arctic char, and muskox. There is a story about him shooting the polar bear. He was in the Northwest Territories, Canada, and he was with the guides, and the guides were Eskimos. So they didn't cook over the stove, and so the guides gave him raw fish. They said, "You don't need to cook it, it will cook in your stomach." Shot different varieties of deer, like the white-tailed deer, Rocky Mountain elk, mountain caribou, barren ground caribou, mule deer, and the Yukon moose. Some of you kids will be wondering why did I choose this topic. Well, my grandpa, he actually knew Chester. He helped him farm since Chester was allergic to the grain dust. And he always said, "You have got to come and see all my catches," in Chester's house at that time. But unfortunately, my grandpa never made it, so about a year ago, my grandpa and I went to Sundry to see the museum. It was amazing. It was a real deal. It felt like I was there hunting with him. If you ever get the chance, you should go. If you notice, Chester never killed a tiger, monkey, camel, kangaroo, koala, raccoon, jaguar, and absolutely no fish. Chester still lives today at the age of 97 and still tells stories about hunting and the rest of his life. He still owns Spray Lake sawmills today and has owned it for over 70 years. Has a hall named after him. Don't you wish you could travel all over the world and see what Chester saw? I'm still in awe that this wonderful man grew up and lived so near to us. He's hunted big game around the world and all of his trophies in the museum in Sundry.